Did you have a less than ideal childhood? Well, you might want to stick around and watch this video because I'm going to talk about some of the ways your childhood might still be affecting you as an adult that you might not currently recognize. So the first one I want to talk about is feeling like you're always in trouble. Now, I know it sounds weird, the idea of being in trouble when you're an adult, because pretty much you're the boss of you most of the time. Sometimes you've got a boss at work, but mostly you're the boss of you. So who are you going to be in trouble with? I don't really know. All I know is that I often have that feeling where, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. And it's that same feeling of lining up outside of the principal's office. And it was the same feeling I used to get with my dad when he would call your name. My immediate feeling in my body would be that my stomach would drop and I'd have this sense of, oh no, what have I done now? And that feeling of being in trouble is something that can really stay with you when you have had not ideal parenting from when you were a child. So when you have that sense that you're going to get in trouble and you have that feeling of like, oh no, this is really, really bad, it really helps to bring your awareness back to the present moment, to take a deep breath, and to actually physically touch your body and to feel your edges, and to remind yourself that you're actually not a child anymore. And I know that might seem really weird, but internally, we can feel like children for our entire lives. I often feel way less mature than my own children. So the way that we're experiencing the world internally is not what we necessarily look like on the outside. So the first thing, if you have that sense that you're going to get in trouble, is to remind yourself that you're an adult and that you've got a lot of skills and capacities, and if problems arise, then you can manage them, to try and separate yourself out from that childlike feeling that you're going to get in trouble. One of the other ones is being afraid to be happy. And I know that is also something that seems a bit weird. Why would you be afraid to be happy? But if you've had a lot of experiences that haven't been great when you're younger, your nervous system can become really much more comfortable preparing for bad things to happen than to take the risk of enjoying good moments that might turn bad. Because I don't know about you, but I had a lot of experiences where the day would start off really nicely. You would think, wow, we're going to the beach. We're going to have a really nice time. We're going to be like those families on television. And then something would happen. Someone would do something to piss my dad off, or my mum would end up drinking, and the day would go not the way that we had hoped it would. And you can get used to kind of wishing that you didn't even have those good times because it's so heartbreaking and disappointing when they keep turning bad. And you can carry that into your adult life. But what you do is you deny yourself the joy of actually having nice times when they happen because you're so scared that they're going to turn bad. So recognizing when you are doing that and stopping for a moment and saying, this is really good right now in this moment. This is really good. And it might not last forever, but you have a lot more control over your life than you used to when you were young. So giving yourself an opportunity to actually feel feelings of joy and to grow comfortable in actually experiencing them inside your body is really helpful. And it's the thing that's going to actually make you aware that your life is in a very different place than it was when you were younger. One of the other ways that childhood trauma can impact you as an adult is feeling like everybody hates you. I have this feeling quite a lot. I have this thought go through my head even now, everybody hates me. And it's a protective mechanism that happened when you were young. You don't know why you're being treated the way that you're being treated a lot of the time. And you do feel like the world is out to get you. And as an adult, what can happen if you have this feeling that everybody hates you is that it feeds into your narrative that you're broken and nobody loves you and the world is bad and what's the point? So we don't want that. That's not ideal, really. And one of the ways that I have most dealt with this sort of paranoid feeling that people hate me is to actually ask them, do you hate me for that? Do you hate me now? I ask people a lot of the time, do you hate me? Are you mad at me for that? And mostly they just say no. I haven't had very many instances where people have said, yes, I actually hate you. So sometimes actually owning that feeling and asking a clarifying question can be all that's needed for you to shift out of feeling like, oh my God, they hate me now, I've got to go and do something, or I now hate myself, or you've got to spend 6 months analysing what happened. Just ask in the moment, do you hate me for that? And they might think you're paranoid, but let's face it, you probably are a bit paranoid, just like me. And it gets you through that moment more quickly and it allows that feeling to pass. One of the other things that's sort of related to that is this feeling like you are defective, like there's something broken inside you that is beyond repair, and like everyone around you is getting life right and you are not. You are getting it wrong somehow because you are wrong somehow. And it's a feeling that is based on those really deep wounds that really did cut you so deep that it made you feel like, why did these things happen to me and what must be wrong with me to have made them happen? And one of the reasons we do that, one of the reasons we want to make it about us, is because it gives us a sense of control over a situation that we don't really have control over. So if I'm the one that's wrong, then I still can have caregivers out there who love me and they're good people and they're good caregivers. So it must be something wrong with me. We're loyal to our caregivers, and you know, from a survival perspective, it makes sense that we want to believe that our caregivers are good because that increases our chance of survival. But what can linger from that is you're continually abandoning yourself. You're telling yourself stories that aren't true because none of us are defective. We all have challenges. We all have parts of our personality that we find more difficult than others. And it doesn't mean that you are defective. And it doesn't mean that you can't change and grow and heal. We all have that capacity. So being aware that you are telling yourself there's something wrong with you, that means that that inner child part of you, that part that felt orphaned and abandoned by your caregivers, that is active and present. And it means that you need to spend a bit of time picturing and visualizing that child inside you, putting your arm around them and saying, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm here for you, and I'm not going to keep treating you the way that you were treated when you were young. I'm going to be the one that makes a change to that. And there's nothing wrong with you. I'm telling you now, you're lovely. The last one I wanted to mention, which is one that a lot of us who have had the crappy childhood experience struggle with, is that feeling of not being good enough, which often drives perfectionism and workaholism and constant need for validation and proving ourselves. And I had a lot of experiences growing up where I really tried really hard to win my dad's affection. I kept putting myself out there, trying to be the best at everything he wanted me to be the best at. And no matter what I did, it felt like he always found some way that I fell short. And it meant that I had sort of a hole in my system that just kept wanting to be filled. I constantly wanted that feeling of validate me enough, and if I get enough A's and I win enough prizes and I have a big shiny life, or I do this or that perfectly enough, then I'm going to feel like I am whole and I'm okay and I'm lovable. And that's one of the really sad things that can stay with us when we have not had those ideal caregivers when we're growing up, is that we are meant to be perfect to be loved, that we're not meant to have any needs, that we are a burden to other people if we do have any needs, and that story just isn't true. We all have needs and we all make mistakes. It's part of being human, and you've got to be kind to yourself, because otherwise all you do is hide yourself away and keep striving for a goal that you never achieve. And it's like you get stuck in this punishment cycle. If you want to break out of being a perfectionist, one of the best things is to do something where you're going to make mistakes and develop a tolerance for how uncomfortable that makes you feel. Because it is going to make you feel uncomfortable if you're not doing things perfectly. But you won't die. You'll feel uncomfortable, but you won't die. And if you can keep testing yourself a little bit more, trying a thing, not great at it, not very perfect, nobody died, people who love me still love me, even though I wasn't perfect. If you can keep challenging yourself in that way, challenging your system in that way, then you can grow more comfortable with not getting things perfectly all the time. But it does involve some risk, and that's part of the process. Is you've got to take the risk of doing things not perfectly and training your nervous system to the new experience that as an adult, the expectation isn't that you're perfect. Being good enough is good enough. And that's something that you have to learn to give to yourself, is a bit more kindness and a bit more allowance for yourself to make mistakes and just be a kind of, messed up human like the rest of us messed up humans, because we're all messed up in our own way. Not everyone's had the same sort of childhood crap, but we've all had some childhood crap. We've all had experiences that have scarred us and hurt us, and we're all doing the best that we can, and that includes you. If you resonate with any of these ideas, I'd love to hear about them. If there are other ways you think that your childhood has impacted you as an adult, I would also love to hear about that. There's so many ways that our childhood just lingers, isn't it? It's really fun how long it lasts, that childhood stuff. But there are things that you can do, and you are worth the effort. And I just hope that by sharing some of those ideas, you might find a way to accept yourself just a tiny bit more and to be a little bit kinder to yourself.